A federal judge ordering the White House to hand over a new batch of emails connected to Hillary Clinton. The release could come as early as July 11th, just days ahead of the Democratic National Convention. Tom Dupree, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, joins us now. Good Friday to you, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
As we learn more about these emails that are going to be released, they're connected to Hillary Clinton, not necessarily from her. Are these game changers, or is this another block pulled out of the Jenga wall?
Well, they could be potential game changers. Obviously, we'll know once we see them. I think what people are interested in is seeing the nature and the extent of communications between USAID, which is a federal agency, and the Clinton Foundation. We've read a lot and seen some evidence about, improper communications, potentially improper influence, and I think the idea is that the emails might provide more evidence of that.
We heard rumors surrounding the FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton's email server that it may have expanded a little bit into the Clinton Foundation, and whether there were favors done or whether there was improper influence and those kinds of things. Could these emails be part of that or give us insight into that?
I think they could. One thing they could certainly illustrate is the extent to which either Mrs. Clinton or others close to her were using these private email addresses, which were launched from her homebrew server, to conduct official business or to make communications that had an official component to it. And so the more we learn about this, the more signs we see of troubling usage of emails, of improper connections, improper communications, and it keeps going. Right now, they're fighting battles on multiple fronts to try to keep these emails from the public.
Right. So we're talking on one hand about emails that we, the public, get to see. This lawsuit for these emails was filed by the RNC. On the other side of this, you have the FBI investigation that is still ongoing. You've been at the Justice Department before. Give us a sense of where the FBI is in that investigation and what that means in terms of how the DOJ is dealing with it.
They're nearing the conclusion of the investigation. They are still interviewing witnesses, collecting evidence, but all the indicators, the public indicators we've seen thus far, suggest that the investigation is nearing its conclusion. Once it does, I anticipate that there would be a recommendation that comes up from the career prosecutors within the Justice Department and career officials at the FBI as to what should happen, whether Mrs. Clinton should be charged, whether she should not be charged, what the proper steps are for the government to take. At that point, the decision really becomes one made by the highest levels of the Obama administration. That would go up to and include both the Attorney General and, in all likelihood, the President himself.
And he has said that he doesn't want to put his hand on the scale when it comes to this. Do you believe him? And as a president, do you have the ability to put your hand on the scale all the way down to whether someone is indicted or not? Obviously, the Attorney General works for you, but how does that happen, that process?
Right. Well, I'd like to believe that there's not going to be a political thumb on the scales. That said, there are things that the president has said that do raise concerns on that front. You'll recall a few weeks ago, he made public comments where he suggested that this might be much ado about nothing. And look, presidents can exercise authority in all sorts of ways. He certainly could give a direct order to Attorney General Lynch not to indict. That probably would be too heavy-handed here. But he could also communicate his views in other ways by subtly signaling to the career prosecutors or to the Attorney General what he thinks the proper outcome is here. And I hope that he's not going to do that and that he'll let the process play out in a fair, neutral, impartial way.
Well, and then obviously the big question is if that does happen, what James Comey, the FBI director, chooses to do with that information if people ignore, shall we say, their recommendations. Mr. Dupree, we appreciate your time being with us, sir, your expertise, insight, and also your service at DOJ.
Great. Thank you so much.
All the best.